Oh well, I'm checking out to see what the audio quality is like outside with this DJI Mic 3. Yeah, so I can sort of stand here and have the river behind me and the rugby club ahead of me, and apparently shitloads of dog walkers today. But I thought I would pop outside, enjoy the weather, and have a little chittery chat on the Dungeon Jukebox. Welcome to the Dungeon Jukebox. A little chittery chat about Daggerheart and Dungeons and Dragons. So, for the well-versed among you, I'm going to go on a tangent. You know me. If you do, if you don't, I go on tangents. If I keep turning around and like checking stuff out, it's because I've had 2 cups of quite strong coffee, and I'm feeling quite twitchy. And I also went to go and see the horror film Obsession with my daughter last night, and yeah, it's made me a little twitchy. Also, I don't like filming things or talking to cameras when there are strangers around. That's weird, and they might be looking at me thinking, that man's a bit old to be a content creator. I'm not a content creator, I don't think, not in that way. I am kind of exploring quality of content because it's part of my job. And I like talking about music, films, and tabletop role-playing games because they're the things I probably enjoy the most. Anyway, so hopefully no one's looking at me thinking, why is that man over there doing that? I don't like it. When I see people walking down the street in London with a selfie stick, like ignoring traffic and other people, I always think, I get you maybe making money out of this or trying to build a profile, but it's quite rude. Anyway, old man whinge over. So, Daggerheart versus Dungeons and Dragons. Are people debating it anymore? Which is better? Does it matter? Probably doesn't matter. But having played Dungeons and Dragons for decades, and a good run of Daggerheart, at the moment, if there was a preference, I would go squarely with Daggerheart. Just for one caveat on that one. I don't like anymore any system that when the dice is rolled, the Dungeon Master is kind of made to say, well, you've passed but with a consequence, or you've failed badly as opposed to just, failed a bit, or, you've succeed with a bonus or whatever. I don't like these anymore because I feel like depending on the players you've got at the table, if you've got new players, they'll go with whatever you say generally as a Dungeon Master. They're like, oh yeah, okay, and it's kind of fun. But when those players become savvy, and it doesn't take long, and players who've been playing for years will get this all the time. But when you do that, and you're forced to think on your feet, and if you're kind of tired as well, or you're thinking about what comes next in the adventure, or you're trying to find something, it's like you're a Dungeon Master, you're leafing through your adventure, you're leafing through a module, you're leafing through the rules books, you're kind of using all sides of your brain all the time. And then you're like, okay, I've got to come up with some consequence because your dice roll wasn't quite good enough. Sometimes that comes across as persecution. And some players who are sensitive in that way are like, oh, that's not fair. You just thought of that. That's, it's difficult. There are some things that are written in stone, like very recently, I ran an adventure and one of my players contracted a plague. They weren't happy about it, but there was nothing to do it was to do with the dice roll, but it was a simple, if they fail this check, they get the plague. If they don't fail this check, they don't get the plague. So when this person said to me, oh, I don't like it, it's like, sorry, but that's what I've written down, and that's what it is. Whereas when you're having to sit there kind of going like, how bad is this? Does he just kind of trip in a puddle, or does he trip in a puddle, fall forward, hit his head on a branch, knock himself out, and then is dragged off by orcs? Like, how bad does this get? How good does it get? You've accomplished what you meant to do, and you've also painted a rainbow and conjured a unicorn. This is the dilemma for me. So Daggerheart introduces this again, and it feels like a bit of a cop-out. I understand that narratively it can be a powerful tool, but in my experience, anything in a tabletop role-playing game is built on, pencils, paper, dice, and your imagination, right? So you don't need to have this. It's a bit like wisdom checks. To iron this one out, wisdom checks. I've come to not enjoy them in the same way that I don't really enjoy charisma checks, unless there is something that maybe you need to roll to see whether or not you resist a dryad, or something, or a mind-altering spell, or something like that. Anyway, using it as a tool. I'll go back to wisdom. I bounced onto charisma. I went on a tangent. I'm going back to wisdom. Wisdom versus charisma. Look, strike that. Wisdom and intelligence. I remember, people, whenever we're doing character sheets, are like, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this. If I can work out the prime number of something in a flash of an eye, or I can read a text and pull out the most salient points in the blink of an eye, I'm a very clever person. Doesn't mean I've got common sense. So sometimes I think you should swap out wisdom for common sense. This is more the territory of people who are not educated, but just have a natural understanding of the way things are. But that also falls into different categories, like streetwise. You're really good in a city, you just naturally understand. Like I have friends who I went to London with when I was young, and they would just get on the tube, and I'd be like, how do you know what you're doing? It's really confusing. And they'd be like, you just follow the sign, right? I'm like, okay, that's wisdom. Whereas intelligence is much more, you get my point. I don't know where I went with that. If you know me at all from other videos you've watched on this channel, you'll know I go on massive tangents. And I've just done another one. Daggerheart, Dungeons & Dragons. I love them both. I think I love Daggerheart a little bit more, and I'll tell you why. The cards. The cards are the solution to burgeoning, complex, and bloated rules introduced over the years into 5th edition. When you can build a deck of cards, have an array in front of you, it means that your players very rarely have to look at any kind of rule book. You still have to, as the DM, but they don't. So for that reason, and so the artwork's lovely, right? So any kind of good artwork inspires something more when you can gaze at that card, read the text, and sort of see what that thing is, I wish people would stop walking. Okay, right, where was I at? I can see how far away I can walk and still, you can still get my voice. I don't know what the range is on this thing. Is it still there? I should have kept talking, shouldn't I? Never mind, don't matter. Let's get somewhere back near the camera again. Yeah, Daggerheart, cards. Building out your cards as a player is awesome. I also like very much that it just seems that what comes next is going to be, new character classes and kits that involve new cards. So a bit like, I don't know, like booster packs or something with Magic the Gathering. It's like, just new spells, new this, new that, new the other, new builds. I love that idea. I also love campaign frames. I've been playing the Umbra frame because it fits in with that sort of Dark Souls vibration that I like. I just think it's a stroke of genius, really, to have all that included in the rule book. The rule book is set out really, really well. It's just a great system, apart from the thing that I personally don't love, which is the dice rolling ambiguity. I like the hope and fear dice, though. I think that's a great mechanic. I like that you can use fear as a kind of a hidden threat sometimes. You just thought, well, I just kind of sit there sometimes just touching them beads, looking meaningfully at people, and It's like, what's he doing? I quite like that. I do think that the fear mechanic itself is a little ambiguous as well. However, because I don't know, it's a bit fluffy. It's like how to spend it, when to spend it. Sometimes it activates something. So I'd rather have a few more hard and fast rules, or a simplified little rule for using fear. I used it once, I think, to really good effect, where the players were in a cave system, and I'd kind of given them a bit of warning already to say that, you know, the ceiling's quite leaky. There's like kind of bits where obviously the weight of water above is kind of pushing through the earth below, and there's like bulging bits, like a damp ceiling, like you've overrun the bathtub or something. And so yeah, but I used the fear because, you know, why the hell not, to begin to bring down the ceiling, which then put them on a timer. I used a clock, which is one of my favourite things from Blades in the Dark. Used a little countdown clock, like if you don't get out of here by the time this clock goes, then you're doomed to a watery grave crushed by millions of tons of rock and earth. It's not a great way to go, is it? Not very heroic. Anyway, so I really like that. I've complained a lot about Dungeons & Dragons on other videos, so I don't need to say too much more about it other than, you know, there is a lot of rules bloat. There's an awful lot of like character class crossover. There's nothing as defined as it should be, in my opinion, anymore between one class and another. It seems to me that, you know, clerics, priests are generally wizards these days. There's just too much blend of possibility, which is not conducive to a good build. Like when you're running around doing stuff, and the DM's like, can you check that rule? Can you check that spell? Could you check that? Because I don't think that can be right. It feels too broken, feels too powerful. And then the player's like gleefully spending the next 10 to 15 minutes leafing through a book or searching a PDF, or, you know, to find this information, only to tell you that actually, yes, that is in fact the case. That if you stand near me for more than half a second, your wounds are healed. And again, you conjure the aforesaid unicorn. Yeah, don't love that anymore. I don't love the amount of moves you have in Dungeons and Dragons. I think the bonus action is an aberration. And yeah, I don't know why. I think it's that coffee again. I got a little surge of to D&D. I love D&D. I played it for decades. And then at a certain point just started to look at everything I had in front of me, and said to the players one day, like, I don't know if I'm up for this anymore. It's just not fun anymore, because I have to go on to DnD Beyond and just, I don't know, fart around there for way too long. And the whole thing feels like it's becoming a subscription service. And I have enough of those in my life, don't we all? I liked the days, see, I'm going to get old again now. I'm going to turn around a little circle like this, just checking my surroundings. Checking I'm recording. Yep, still doing that. 32-bit float. Yeah, I was travelling back into the mist of time in my head, wasn't I? Yeah, so my first games of D&D were a character sheet. Oh, what was my first adventure? I can't remember what it was called, but I know that one of the NPCs in it was called Hotfar, or was that a pre-gen character? Hotfa, I think. There were some pools in it. Anyway, character sheet, pencil and paper, the dice, the polyhedrals, and the module itself. Had some figures, all good, but that was it. And that module led on to, I think, Trouble at Tragedor was the next one that I ran personally. But between that, you know, my friend Christian, you know, would come up with his own stuff, and it was all done on just paper, and there was pencils, and then we did smoke a lot of roll-ups, and we did consume sweeties and stuff, and it wasn't very healthy, but we got some wicked games in, And these games were more memorable because you had to fill in the gaps yourself. I suppose it's a bit like AI. It sort of does so much for you that you forget how to think. And I think that, using think in the same sentence twice, grammar pedants, come and get me, that D&D is a game of imagination. It stretches your imagination. I imagine that every single fantasy writer, probably bar none, didn't write their first book until they had played a good old few games of Dungeons & Dragons first and expanded their brain hole, because it allows for, I mean, you're building worlds, right? When you're given a world, or you're given so much information about that world, it's a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit, I quite like a sandbox, but I kind of want one that doesn't have like hard and fast rules around it. So I guess that is a sandbox, as opposed to something where you're literally reading out text, you know, just at your players. And, you know, this is a couple of years ago, but I remember, and it's not their fault at all, but it's kind of funny. We're going through, because I love Dragonlance. And the new version came out, and my God, compared to the old version, as expected, it was just bloated. Bit silly, really. And I think, I can't remember what chapter it was, but the person who was running it was like, oh, you know, this is the betrayal on something hill, Shield Hill, something like that. And all the players looked at each other like, don't think you're supposed to have read that bit. But that's not so bad. The thing about that module, though, was that it was a unnecessarily chunky version of Weiss and Hickman's world that just didn't need to be that stringent, you know. It's just too prescribed. Chapter 1, you're going to do this. Chapter 2, your players do that. Chapter 3, your players do this. Didn't like it. Anyway, that's my massive rant about Dungeons & Dragons again. I didn't mean to go there. This is more supposed to be like a comparison between the two, the Daggerheart and the Dungeons & Dragons. Daggerheart is a fresh take on an epic fantasy. I don't love all of the races. I sort of do. Do I? I don't think you need them. But then as I'm getting older, I'm coming towards this more kind of humans only thing. That sounds a bit bad, doesn't it, when I say it like that? Orcs have feelings. And that's another thing Hasbro did. Why do that to orcs? Why make them, oh God, I don't know. Orcs are vicious. Watch Lord of the Rings. Anyway, so I don't like the races, but I do. I think the races are very colourful in Daggerheart. The Galapa. I wasn't a big fan of like, dude, you're a walking tortoise. And then my friend Simon was playing a Galapa. And he did this thing, because, you know, this ability to defend, he was defending other people. And he's like, right, all these horrible gobbies were chasing the party through this city, and they were going to be overwhelming the party. And Simon said, I'm going to turn around, stick my shell in the door. And I'm like, okay, you're going to take all the hits on your shell? He's like, yeah. And this scene in our minds, definitely in my mind, was brilliant, because now what you've got is this gnarly old tortoise dude who's covered this doorway with his shell, and behind him are a rabble of vicious ghoul-like creatures just ripping into the shell with their claws so that the party can get away, and he's taken the brunt of everything. And I guess it was that kind of Hodor moment. And it was like, yeah, well done. So I think maybe the races add to this. I like the Simiah I like the idea that they're, in my mind, they're always a barkeeper though. They're always swinging off the rafters of beams and serving pints with their tail or whatever. I like that. So what am I saying? Maybe I do like it, but these days I kind of like human-only adventures because I'm actually getting to the point where I'm not, in my personal games, enjoying big magic as much. That's why I like Cthulhu. I really like Call of Cthulhu because magic is rare and dangerous. Like, you don't really want to be dicking around with magic too much because you end up smearing yourself with your own poo in an asylum somewhere while your friends are having fun solving an adventure, a mystery. So that again, that's personal preference, but we're talking about two high fantasy games here. Blended high fantasy, no fixed abode in terms of, is it medieval? Is it Dark Ages? Is it sci-fi? It's all blended, right? It's like someone said this the other day, it's like a Renaissance fair where it's all just gelled into one, but as soon as you add like fantasy races, like, you know, goblins and elves and stuff, then you're already there, right? So that's okay. But I quite like the simulation of medieval times, because I just think there's grit in there, right? That's hence my player getting the plague, although we are playing a high fantasy system, easy D6 at the moment. But I'm really looking forward to, I think I said it in the last video, to Stonetop. That looks gritty as hell. I love the idea of it. I love the idea that the village itself is like an NPC that you have to consider. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I'm going to wait until I get that before I talk about it. Next game I'm really looking forward to, though, is still Dungeon Crawler Carl. That's the digital version's out, I want to say maybe August, which is around my birthday. And as soon as that drops, I'm going to start playing that with my players because I'm just really interested to see how the hell they've done it. If you haven't read the books, jump in, read the first one for sure and see how you feel. I wasn't sure when I first started reading Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. But then, yeah, as soon as my brain clicked into, oh, it's like playing Diablo, El Diablo. Look at that, Sluffy. Then it all kind of became I had a big understanding, and I realised this is what this is, and it's great, and actually I really enjoyed it, and I'm playing my way through. So I want to play that game. Stonetop's on my horizon. I like Easy D6. I want to get back to Daggerheart, actually. Just annoying that there's that dice thing. Fail badly, pass, but with a consequence. What is that consequence? Is it a nosebleed, or have I just shat myself? I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to use that. You shit yourself. Actually, that sort of thing has happened in my games quite a lot. Some of my players are quite lavatorial in their jesting. Anyway, it's getting hot. There's a heat wave happening in the UK, if I haven't already mentioned that. And I'm like, I'm a shorts and t-shirt man. I'm your average Gen X middle-aged dude. I wander around all year in a pair of camo shorts and a t-shirt, right? So today I put on jeans, a t-shirt, and quite a warm shirt because it was kind of cool this morning. But now it's like, well, I'm beginning to sweat, and no one likes that. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to head to the gymnasium, adorn myself with no-gi jiu-jitsu gear, and roll around on the mat with another man until I am sweaty. And then I will shower and go home. And that's what you know about me now. So anyway, as always, or not as always, as of recently, I've got some new kit. I'm not using the Rode stuff, Rode mics, and all the shenaniganry stuff because I'm doing more stuff out on the road at events and in fields apparently. So I want to try and make sure that I'm keeping a decent quality. And is this following me? Don't know. That's not how I dance, by the way. My wife will tell you I'm an excellent dancer. That's a lie. Although I did used to be a break dancer. A long, long time ago when my body still functioned. Anyway, so to use a catchphrase that I'm really working on, Tiddly poop. Combat hands. That's a bit shit, isn't it? We'll try harder.